if you were a conventional economist, which I'm not, I'm a left-wing economist, how would you approach this issue of the Toondah Harbour development? And my view is that anybody who is in opposition, and I've spent most of my life in opposition, is that what you do is you find the holes in the reasoning and the methodology of the proponents that you're dealing with. That you look where the flaws are in what they're doing. You also have to be pragmatic, and that's where, of course, you get attacked by your own side for being a sellout. So, you know, when you want to attack me, tell me. But, so what are the flaws and how can we approach them? In approaching them, I want to say one thing which I don't think anybody else has mentioned up to now, and that is that we do have to take the jobs and employment situation seriously. I mean, the weakness of running an environmental case only is that we leave ourselves open to the employment problems, not just in Redland. And in fact, I checked up the figures last night. On the most recent figures, the unemployment rate in Redland is 5.3 as compared to 5.2 in Brisbane. It is not a high unemployment area in comparison, but unemployment in particular, the so-called the underutilisation rate in southeast Queensland is very high. 14.4% of people are either unemployed or would like to work longer. That's the sort of numbers that we're starting from. That's 1 in 7. So we need to take that seriously. Now, however, having said that, what can we do using economics about Toondah Harbour? Well, what I want to suggest, and it's a little bit arcane, though it's not obscure, is that we need to be demanding what's called a cost-benefit analysis. Now, these are not radical things. The state government, the Queensland government, requires cost-benefit analysis for all projects that it does. It requires them as a part of environmental impact statements for all resource developments. We've seen them for all the resource developments. There are Treasury guidelines about how to do them. And basically, quite simply, in the Treasury's own words, and I love using the Treasury's words against them, it's a method used to make decisions about, and I emphasise this, alternative courses of action. Now, economics only makes sense if you're comparing A and B. Economics doesn't make sense about one situation. So there is a technique available with the imprint of Treasury that allows us to say we want to look at alternatives. And it's called cost-benefit analysis. The way it's defined is that benefits, it looks at the benefits and costs of projects from what is called a social or society perspective. However, that social isn't particularly, it simply means looking at it in the aggregate, looking at it in the total. The way that it works, the good things about cost-benefit analysis is that it forces examination of alternative uses, alternatives to the one development. Another good thing about it is that it requires analysis and discussion of what are the benefits and what are the costs. And included in both the benefits and the costs, included in both, are ecological and social matters, and indeed cultural matters to the extent that they're involved. There are also, in terms of the goods, there are well-established procedures, well-established methodologies for doing it. Now, there are, of course, because it's economists, there are some bads. Because most economists are bad. Full stop. The bads are twofold, the two worst bads. One, that it doesn't address distributional issues. It doesn't address who gets what. It is done at an aggregate level. So it says the community, which I think is a very bad phrase, benefits or doesn't benefit, when in fact different people benefit and different people lose. The second, and it's very neoliberal for those who are into that kind of discussion. Another bad is that the emphasis is on market or monetized costs and benefits, those things to which either the market gives a number or you can do some whiz-bang survey of how many people would give $1 to save this tree sort of thing, which is highly suspect. Third, and this is the worst bad of all, is it's open to manipulation. Think of Adani, think of Ackland, think of Minjerribah. And we take the last one, the third one, Minjerribah, the mining on the island. All of them have had cost-benefit analyses done, and all of them have come out with glowing praise that the project should go ahead. The reason for that is the assumptions that are built, that are used. However, there are possibilities. If you want to look at parliamentary submission number 300 in the recent parliamentary committee, the kayak Kondamuka submission on the economic transition scheme, we there reworked Sibelco's cost-benefit analysis. Sibelco had paid some very expensive consultants a lot of money to come up with the view that mining had what's called a net present value of $28 million. We reworked it for kayak, or I reworked it, and I'm very underpaid, to show that if account was made of the loss of opportunities for the Kondamuka people to use their native land, mining actually cost the island minus $55 million. Didn't make its way into the parliamentary committee report, but it's a very useful example of what you can do. Let's look quickly at Toondah. Last night I reread, after I couldn't watch the football, it was dreadful. After the football, I reread Walker's submissions to the Environmental Federal Department very quickly, and I did a very rough and crude cost-benefit analysis. I costed the units at market rental, commercial rents, the marina sites at commercial, and the rates and charges that will be earned by Redland City Council. The construction cost is $1.4 billion. That's not a benefit to the community, that's just a cost. And in essence, without putting any ecological costs in there, I came up with the calculation that it's worth minus $270 million to the community. Minus 270, and that's leaving that's not a deficit to walkers. That's the cost of the community, and that's without factoring in green turtles, loss of recreational commercial fisheries, ecological losses to birds, and traffic congestion and all of those. It's on the obvious things. Now, the critical things, we put those in, there's two others. One is, so we're talking about minus 270 without taking account of ecological losses, and it's done on the back of an envelope. The critical importance is if we build in loss of species habitat, that's got an infinite cost. In other words, one can actually say can't be built in. And second, if we follow Lord Stern, who did the climate change stuff, which then Garneau did here, you should not discount the future. There should be no discounting for ecological loss, which makes matters even worse. In issues then, and we'll finish on this, that is a very rough route. Now, the politics are to get the Commonwealth to do the environmental impact statement, not the state government and the Coordinator General. You're wasting your time there. But get the Commonwealth to do the environmental impact report, demand in the terms of reference a economic cost-benefit analysis, because it makes those alternatives have to be put on the table, and it requires various levels of consultation. There are some distributional issues. What I've done suggests the developer will profit very nicely and the community will lose. The question we need to be asking, going back to where I started and being pragmatic, is would there be more jobs and would there be a greater community benefit, particularly to the already disadvantaged people in Redland, by spending the funds that are earmarked for Toondah, both the private funds, if they pay a bit of tax, and the public funds if we spent them elsewhere. And I think I know it's arcane, economists are hard to work with, but we need to be doing something reasonably quickly about getting this matter into the public debate. Thank you very much.